Join me on this journey as we research mythological creatures from around the world. On this episode, we dive into the icy depths to unveil the mysterious harbinger of death known as the Kraken. The Kraken is a legendary creature that has a rich and unnerving history that goes far beyond what we see of it in pop culture. To find where the myth of the Kraken first arose, we look into Scandinavian history. According to the Norse sagas, the Kraken stalks the waters of Norway and Greenland. Konungsskugsia, an old Norwegian natural history work, composed by an unknown author around the year 1250, went into great detail when describing the Kraken. Interestingly, the author suggests that there must be no more than 2 of these creatures in existence, which goes against other beliefs that there is only one Kraken. Here's an excerpt from Konungsskugsia. Most often in our tongue, we call it Hafguva, nor can I conclusively speak about its length in ells, because the times he has shown before men, he has appeared more like land than like a fish. Neither have I heard that one had been caught or found dead, and it seems to me as though there must be no more than 2 in the oceans, and I deem that each is unable to reproduce itself, for I believe that they are always the same ones. Then too, neither would it do for other fish if the Hafguva were of such a number as other whales, on account of their vastness and how much subsistence that they need. What's compelling about this description of the Kraken from Konungsskugsia is that the piece is not focused on the Kraken whatsoever, but instead has a small portion of it that refers to it. This gives it more credibility. Swedish author Jakob Wallenberg raised an interesting question in his 1781 work entitled My Son on the Galley. He wonders if the Kraken is actually the Leviathan from the book of Job. In the earliest descriptions of the Kraken, it was described as a crab-like creature, not the squid-like one that we're used to. In fact, they were even thought to be related to whales for a time, from resembling a giant octopus, a giant squid, and being crab-like. The description of the Kraken has varied throughout the years. The Kraken that the vast majority of people are familiar with is described as such: a squid or octopus-like creature of gargantuan proportion, with an unfathomable amount of strength to match its size. The Kraken also had extreme endurance due to it being able to sink multiple ships, one after the other, without showing any sign of fatigue. Keep in mind that the sailors would be fighting the Kraken until their dying breath with things like swords, cannons, and anything that they could get their hands on. The beast's tentacles were massive and were the main instrument in destroying ships. Its mouth was arguably more horrifying, being full of massive, razor-sharp teeth that could easily mangle anything that they touch. The Norse sagas said that the Kraken could roam the waters around Norway and Greenland, but in more modern accounts, its range extends far beyond that. It is thought that the Kraken can roam the entire Atlantic Ocean, and some believe that it can roam the entire world, which means that no vessel is safe from the wrath of the Kraken. There really isn't a way to avoid this beast. However, there may be some indicators that it is near. If Jakob Wallenberg's calculations are correct, then the Kraken could be as large as 15 to 16 kilometers or around 9 miles long. If that is true, and if the Kraken is beginning to surface, then sailors would easily be able to spot the creature during the day at least. Avoiding it could be as easy as altering your course and hoping that the creature doesn't pursue you. However, if you're being pursued by a being of this magnitude, regardless of how slow or fast it moves, its size will ensure that you will not escape. There are some sagas and books that tell of people surviving the Kraken, but this seems to be out of luck, rather than some weakness that the crew exposed on the Kraken. Boredom, not being hungry anymore, or some other cause seems to be why the Kraken leaves survivors. Considering its size and strength, it is unlikely that any serious injury could have been caused by sailors of the past. If it is related to squid and/or octopi, which is likely given its description, then that means that it can easily regrow its appendages, similar to its smaller counterparts. A modern navy might stand more of a chance against the Kraken, with things like torpedoes, missiles, and depth charges. Though if randomly attacked, the likelihood of surviving the encounter with the Kraken would be ridiculously low. What most people know about the Kraken comes from pop culture and literature. The book, Here There Be Monsters, The Legendary Kraken and the Giant Squid, by H.P. Newquist, is one of the many pieces written about the beast. Many of the books you'll find at a store or online are science fiction books or non-fiction books that use the word Kraken in the title to catch your attention while actually referring to giant or colossal squid. The Pirates of the Caribbean movie series features the Kraken as the pet of Davy Jones. The Kraken is also featured in the video game entitled Sea of Thieves as a world encounter event. I feel like this is a good point to identify an inaccuracy in perception. The Kraken is most definitely Norse in origin, not Greek. If you watched the film Clash of the Titans, either the original or the remake, then you might know what I'm referring to. The creature named the Kraken is not the Kraken at all. It is actually the sea monster known as Cetus. The descriptions of Cetus and the Kraken in their respective mythologies are vastly different. I do not believe the Kraken, the way that it is described, is real. That being said, the giant squid and the colossal squid, the giant being longer while the colossal is the heavier of the two, are great candidates for Kraken sightings. Even with today's technology, it is extremely rare to see squid of these species. Giant squid live between the depths of 1,000 to 2,000 feet deep in the ocean, meaning that we rarely see them. As far as the colossal squid, though very few have been seen since its discovery in 1925, are thought to reside even deeper in the ocean at 3,000 feet beneath sea level. It's possible that Kraken sightings could have been these creatures that ventured too far upwards or were dead and simply happened to be floating near a ship. Squid aren't strong enough to capsize a ship, let alone crush it. However, perhaps the early descriptions of the Kraken were more plausible. Remember that there were times when they were described as whale-like. A whale could easily damage smaller vessels and even flip them over. On the other hand, we must keep in mind that we have explored outer space more than we have explored our oceans. There are countless new species being discovered every year, which makes you wonder if the Kraken could really exist. I'd say it's plausible, but extremely unlikely for our sake. The Victorian poet Alfred Lord Tennyson has one of, if not the premier piece of creative literature that pertains to the Kraken. Here is his poem entitled The Kraken. Below the thunders of the upper deep, far, Far beneath in the abysmal sea is ancient, dreamless, uninvaded sleep. The Kraken sleepeth. Faintest sunlights flee about his shadowy sides. Above him swell huge sponges of millennial growth and height. And far away into the sickly light, from many a wondrous grot and secret cell, unnumbered and enormous pulpi, winnow with giant arms the slumbering green. There hath he lain for ages, and will lie, battening upon huge sea worms in his sleep, until the latter fire shall heat the deep. Then once by man and angels to be seen, in roaring he shall rise, and on the surface die. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. Leave a comment for what creature I should cover on the next episode of Mythological Creatures Explained.